Alright, Shalom. I'd like to say Kahalayam, Wahawadla, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. Right, double honors the apostles and elders of Great Millstone and rule well. Peace and blessings. The Akimani will push this through to the four corners of the earth. Right, there's your Abaye. Even in times of hardship, you are the US, still flexing the muscles, still abusing the nations, taking advantage of people. Scriptures already say what the devil has come down to you with great wrath. You understand? I'll start with this one. Yesterday's the U.S. blockage prevented a cargo plane with supplies donated by Alibaba's founder from reaching Cuba. You understand? So even when people trying to seek refuge in this time, the U.S. blocking cargo, all kind of thing to actually stop them from helping them. And anytime the U.S. doing that is because of that country not complying with certain things, or that they want to have the country in a certain state so that they could be the ones to help them, and the help that they will give them will equal that they have to give up something or do something for them. That's how this devil is operate. They say Cuban President Miguel Diaz-Canel they say condemned the criminal blockage by the United States government against Havana after that embargo hindered the delivery of medical supplies donated by Chinese tycoon Jack Ma to a Latin American country for dealing with the coronavirus pandemic. You understand? So anytime you actually blocking somebody from getting help, that means that you have ill towards that person, or you don't want nobody to help them but yourself. It always has some ulterior motive with them. Just like when they had the ships that was going around from country to country and giving free medical aid and so forth. We know that it had something behind that. And then shortly after that ship actually started sailing around and finish is when you start seeing all the sickness that go about the place. I'm not saying that is the case. You understand? But yes, because the thing is, after the ship left here is when people were starting to get swine flu in this country. So they just had the ulterior motives as to why they just help people. They don't just help people for no reason. And if they will block you from being helped, they have reasons for that also. Right? They say the criminal blockage by the imperial government violates the human rights of the Cuban people. And that is something that America is always known for. You understand? They always making treaties with people and not keeping their side. But when the people don't keep their side to America, the first thing they just want to do is go in the country and take everything that they have. You understand? Because scriptures say what? They said they think themselves to be like gods. That is why they could make agreements with people and they could break it, but the people can't break it. And when they make rules, you have to follow it, but they don't have to follow it. Because a God doesn't follow his own rules in that aspect. Like when the Lord tell us that we have to do certain things, that don't mean he have to do it. That is for us. That is not for him. And that is how these so-called white people just think. They just think like gods. In the sense of they just tell us that we can't do things, but they could do anything that they want. Right? Yeah, human rights of the Cuban people, Diaz-Canel, reported on Twitter on Wednesday. They said the Jack Ma Foundation, creator of the Alibaba company, had donated face masks, rapid diagnostic kits for coronavirus, and artificial respirators for Cubans, as well as for several Latin American countries. Right? However, the company hired by the foundation to transport these supplies refused at the last minute to make the shipment, arguing that the regulations of the economic, commercial, and financial blockage imposed by the United States against Havana prevented it to do so. You understand? That's how the US ruling right now. Even in times of calamity, when people are going through all this distress, they still smiting the nations. They said the Cuban ambassador to China, Carlos Pereira, announced on Wednesday See, even in times of pandemic, we are not allowed to breathe easy. You understand? Same thing I say. You say things for Cuba are always more difficult. Even in time of pandemic, it say Cubans are not allowed to breathe easy. It say Pereira wrote on the blog of the Cuban embassy. It said the diplomat thanked Jack Ma for his noble and extraordinary efforts in his foundation to extend his aid to the nations affected by COVID-19. You're not gonna read it all, but that was just read up to this part here. Gotta see the outline. You understand? You know, anybody right now who could be in any kind of affiliation with Russia and China, the US don't want that. You know, very territorial. It say he also regretted that this donation could not reach Havana due to the unfair, arbitrary, and illegal blockade. But whenever it is somebody else doing something, the US does always be quick to call them a dictator or an unfair bully or some kind of bad ruler. But the US will do things like this, and in their mind, they always have good reasons for doing it. Right? Right, blockade is say of Washington, which does not care how necessary these resources could be for the Cuban people in the fight against the pandemic. They say on March 22nd, Jack Ma announced that amongst the donation of 2 million masks, 400,000 kits to test for coronaviruses, and 104 respirators, to 24 Latin American countries, including Argentina, Brazil, Chile, Cuba, Ecuador, and the Dominican Republic and Peru, to help them to fight the coronavirus. Right? I'll read this last part. They say according to data compiled by the Johns Hopkins University monitoring tool, Cuba has 212 confirmed cases of COVID-19 and a total of 6 deaths. Right? And then there's this one. It's a ventilators designed for Barbados seized by US. You understand? So it was in Latin countries, Barbados, right? Latin countries, there's Barbados, and I believe there's one more situation, and then there's this one. It's a Trump, right? US to deploy anti-drug Navy ships near Venezuela, right? It's a President Donald Trump announced Wednesday that Navy ships are being moved toward Venezuela as his administration beefs up counter narcotics operations in the Caribbean following a US drug incident against Nicolas Maduro. Now we know that this drug incident thing nonsense is just a front. You know, they just work with problem and solution. They just create a problem and then they just try to be the solution for it. Now we know it have no drug thing going on with Maduro. They for the longest while trying to get Maduro out of power. Alright, but they just always look for good reasons to do these things. Alright? Even though it doesn't be good reasons, but whatever reason they say is good. It's good. Right? Let me get a scripture. Hey, these devils, boy. They're really coming down with great wrath. But I'm really glad, thanks to Allah Hashem Yahushai, that it's really a short time to have left for them and the 2/3 of Israel. Today, Isaiah 14 verse 5. And these are things that we're waiting on, right? It said the Lord had broken the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers. And the rulers is who? Esau. These elite banking families, you know, these ones high up, right? But they know what the nation of Esau. Them is the strongest right now because the world was given to them. Scriptures say what? Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that follow it. So after their rulership is our rulership, Lord's will. Right? It says verse 6, it say, he who smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke. You understand? Even the whole Isaiah 14, when they're breaking down Lucifer, and people like to say that is Satan. When you listen to the details of the explanation of this chapter, you can see that they're talking about Esau, because all these things are the characteristics of Esau right now. It had no point in time that the spiritual Satan ever ruled the people with wrath. When was he ever ruled over the people? None of those things does make sense. It's an actual nation they're speaking about. You understand? And the Lucifer, light bearer, enlightened ones, who does call what the Illuminati. All of it just makes sense. You know, people like to say that refers to Satan and blah blah blah. Right? Say he who smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke, and like I said, that's what they're doing right now. Even in times of calamity, they're still smiting the people, because that is just how wicked Esau is. And if the Lord was to allow Esau to continue to be in power, they will continue to smite the people with wrath, because that is just how they are. Once they have power, they will exercise it, because that is just how they are. That is why the Lord had to take them out of power, and then they will never get that power back, because they will never change. Anytime they actually establish themselves, they'll always go back to this wicked way that they are, because that is just how they are. It's like if you with a woman and she's a whore, she might act nice around you, but inwardly, if that is how she is, the first chance she get, that is what she is going to do. Whether it is you're not wrong, or she had to get upset with you first, or wherever the case may be, if inwardly that is how she is, you can't change. That's not going to change. You understand? It'll just take the right situation to bring it out. Even when we was ruling over Esau in the past, Esau was under some kind of behavior. But as soon as they got back some kind of power, what happened? They started to fight against us again. Because that is just how they are. They are not going to change from that. Right, it say he who smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke. And we see in that now. It say he that ruled the nations in anger, and it say is persecuted, and none hinder it. Because when it is he go down, you understand, the same one who ruling the nations in anger right now, when it is he go down and he is persecuted, nobody could help them. Just like how nobody could have helped us. Right? It's a U.S. drug indictment against Nicolas Maduro, right? It said the president's announcement was a break from the daily White House press briefing to discuss the coronavirus pandemic, it said, which has left much of the country in lockdown, and which the government warns could cause 100,000 to 240,000 deaths. It said the Venezuelan people continue to suffer tremendously because the U.S. put sanctions on them, tell nobody to help them, and now the U.S. even trying to afflict them even further by sending ships to try to, do what I had to do. In Lord's will, hopefully soon we'll see how that play off. Right, to say, right, tremendously due to the Maduro and his criminal control over the country. So they're blaming Maduro for the state of the country. The America not taking responsibility for the things that they doing and the sanctions they imposing as to why the country in a mess. But it's Maduro fault that the country in a mess. Right? Hey, these devils, how people could like Esau, boy. How people could like Esau. I say, and drug traffickers, so he's a drug dealer, who are seizing on this lawlessness, right? It said the Defense Secretary Mark Esper said after a president's announcement, so you don't have drug problems in any other country besides Venezuela. Yo, it said the mission involves sending national Navy warships surveillance aircrafts and special forces teams to nearly double the U.S. counter-narcotics capacity in the Western Hemisphere, with forces operating both in the Caribbean and Eastern Pacific. As Esper said, the mission would be supported by 22 partnered nations, and that is the ones who the US still have grips over, whereas they don't want to go against it, because if America say that is where it is, then they don't fade. They're like, yes men, you understand? That certain nations just kick up, but certain nations that had to be done for it, or else, they go have sanctions on them, and they don't want that, so they're going along with the program. It say, as governments and nations focus on the coronavirus, there is a growing threat that cartels, criminals, terrorists, and other malignant I'll search about word after actors will try to exploit the situation for their own gain, which is true. And those actors and terrorists, you understand, and criminals is who? America. Trying to exploit the situation for their own gain, said Trump. He is true, but is he himself he talking about? He said we must not let that happen. He said the enhanced mission has been months in the making. Now, if this pandemic only started probably about 3 to 4 months ago, if so long, right? We say about roughly 3 to 4 months ago, but they're saying that this exercise was months in the making. But they also said that due to the situation now, people will try to take advantage because of the coronavirus. So since the beginning of the coronavirus, they're trying to say that they was preparing to send ships so that people wouldn't take advantage of the situation. Serious? Bruh. It say the enhanced mission has been months in the making, but has taken on greater urgency following last week's incident of Maduro, Venezuela's embattled socialist leader. Say the names that the terms that it is used, and members of his inner circle and military. It said they are accused of leading a narco-terrorist conspiracy responsible for smuggling up to 250 metric tons of cocaine a year into the US, about half of it by sea. How it is you get this information? When was this information supplied? Just going back to the same thing with the weapons of mass destruction. When was this information received, and why it have no evidence of this? They just throw anything on you and just come and take your shit. But they always have some excuse as to something bad you're doing, but no evidence. That is just America ruling nations in anger. Them is just the bullies. It's if I was just indicted for drug trafficking by the United States with a $50 million reward for my capture, having the US Navy conducting anti-drug operations off my coast would be something I would worry about, said Sen. It's a Mark Rubio, a Florida Republican, who has been among those called for the tougher stance against Maduro. I'm going to read everything, but this just showing you the kind of nonsense that, and Esau bad habits coming out more and more as time go by. You understand? People beginning to see more and more how wicked Esau is. It have nobody could watch these Edomites and say they have some kind of righteousness in them. It have nobody could watch Trump and say that he has some kind of righteousness in him. You see any kind of things that these people doing, these people promoting. You understand? These people are Satanists. You understand? So anybody who quick to defend these people, they not in the right spirit. But the video just to show how wicked these Edomites is. Blocking aid to people, going and afflicting people's countries because they want stuff from them. And that's something that Esau was doing since the time of the Renaissance. Since the time of the Renaissance, when they came back into power, these are things that they was doing, going from place to place and taking people's stuff. You understand? And up to now, it never stopped. They're still trying to do the same thing. But the scriptures say, well, let the weak say, I am strong. And that was referring to the other nations who was weak and who used to just roll over and take it. Now they have military might. Now, anytime the US come up and say, well, I have missiles, they could say, well, I have missiles too. Do something. You understand? But we're hoping that this actually escalates to a point where something will happen. When you see all these people praying for things to go back to normal, we know for the kingdom to come, this place must fall. And that is what we're waiting on. I hope you guys edifying with that. I say Shalom, Akim, stay strong.